Hey everyone, what I've got here is the Realme X50 Pro. So far I have did an unboxing, I have did a charging test, and I went out and I showed you the camera. I've recorded a lot of clips with the default camera app here. So what I'd like to do in this video is show you the phone. I'd like to show you the user experience, and this video is going to be long, and it's really for people who are thinking about buying this phone, but they're on the fence and they want to know more about what it's like to own this phone. Because I have been using this every single day for 2 weeks. It's been my main phone. I have transferred everything to it, WhatsApp and everything else to it. And I've been using this as my main phone. So in this video, what I'd like to do is just talk about the design, talk about specifications briefly, and then talk about the battery, the display, the settings area, and I'd like to talk about the camera app, show you some benchmarks that I've taken, and I'd like to show you one or two games as well at the end, just to show you how this performs. Spoiler alert, this is a Snapdragon 865, gaming performance is very good, no surprises there. I just want to quickly jump over to the website. Before I do that, I just want to quickly show you the design. So this is the design, and I don't think it's as pretty as they kind of make it out to be. And the reason being, if you look at their website, you can see they've got this funky red and funky green color. And if you look at the colors there, especially with the green model that I've got, I think they call it moss green. And it's kind of like a bright green, really bright green at times, with a kind of black shade going down the middle. Obviously this is their marketing material, but when you get the phone itself, it's a little bit more subdued. It's more like a black with a green tone almost, you know, it's a really dark green. It does look good. I think the colour maybe isn't being shown as well once it's in the case. And by the way, this case, if you didn't watch my unboxing, this case comes with the X50 Pro. It comes in the box, and I'm not saying it's the best case in the world, but it's got the official Realme branding there. And I've actually been quite happy with this case, which is why I've not replaced it. But you can see that it's green. It's maybe just not as bright as they show it in the marketing material. And when you put it in the case, you know, a lot of that kind of bright green goes away and it looks a little bit darker. Maybe not as bright as people would think it would be, which will be a good thing or a bad thing depending on your perspective. Some people don't want a flashy phone, so this might be exactly what they're looking for. So as far as what's in the phone, etc., you can see here there's a mic port. That actually doubles as a speaker as well. There's a speaker grill down the bottom with the Type-C charging port. There's a mic, there's the SIM card tray, volume buttons there. The power button there, very, very good position. Very good position. I like that. And you know, I've pointed this out in phones. It sounds like a small thing, but I've used the Samsung phones where the power buttons are way up here, and it's such a pain when you need to shift your hand. This one hand, yeah, you can switch it on and off, no problem. You've got the fingerprint sensor there. I've made this clear in the past. I'm not a big fan of on-screen fingerprint sensors. I prefer the ones at the back or on the power button, but it does work. I mean, there you go. So, there you go. It does seem pretty responsive. It does seem quite good. The reason I don't like those on-screen displays is just every so often, you know, there's a situation where you just don't catch it right and it doesn't open, and then you need to unlock it with the passcode. I've actually got the face unlock as well. I'm not sure if it will do that. Will it see me? I think it is. It's hard to show that obviously with an overhead camera, but the face unlocking works quite well as well. And, you know, I've got the Poco F2 coming, which has got a pop-out camera. But because the dual selfie cameras here are positioned at the top left, you don't have to wait for a camera to pop out at the top of the display to do a face unlock. That might be a good thing for some of you. So the dual selfie camera position there, I pointed this out in my camera video that I quite like where it is. I don't find that these cameras get in the way of anything. I really don't, and I don't mind them being there. But I did find that when I was recording, like my eyes were kind of gravitating to this middle part of the phone here when I was holding it in landscape. And when I was doing a portrait, I was kind of gravitating towards the middle. It's just, you look at the screen and you just kind of gravitate towards where it used to be in older phones. Certainly I have, you know, where the cameras used to be in the middle there. It used to be in the middle there. So, yeah, I don't think the cameras are in a terrible position. You just kind of have to get used to it. The quad camera system in the back, I think it looks good. It's not in your face. It's not like all across the phone. I think it's quite minimal. I think it looks good. all of this is subjective, of course. Design is always subjective. I will say, like most smartphones today, this can be quite slippy if you don't put it in the case, which is why I've always been using it with the case. Case adds a little bit of bulk, not a lot of weight, but it does add a little bit of bulk. What I would say though is that coming from the Huawei P30, and this is maybe a bad example for a lot of you, because this is a small phone. I got this last year because it's a small phone, it's a very light phone, and I kind of get used to the weight and the size. So in comparison to my older P30, it might not look a lot there, but this is so much chunkier and heavier than the P30, and that was something I had to get used to. You know, the first few days it felt really heavy, but now I'm at the point where this kind of feels normal, and this now feels like a toy. So it kind of, you know, it kind of depends on what you're used to at the moment. If you've got a bigger phone, a bigger flagship phone with a large screen, I don't think, you know, you're going to be annoyed with the size of this. It's not like this has got big bezels, you know, you can see there's very little bezel going around the screen. So yeah, all in all, I think the design is good. I don't think anyone is going to have any complaints. In fact, I'll keep the case off there. So jump back over to the specifications here. I'll leave a link to this website. Check it out and fool yourself. Do your research. I just want to quickly go through some of the specifications. The clear one there is it's 5G, which I've not been able to test, unfortunately, because my mobile network does not have it yet in the UK. But a few of the main specs there. It's a Snapdragon 865. It's got a quad camera system. It's got 64 megapixels. I think it's 64, 12, 8 and 2. We'll look at that in a second. It's got DDR5 RAM, UFS 3.0 hard drive, so the benchmarks for that are pretty good. And then you've got that super AMOLED display, and that's one of the biggest selling points of this phone. It's got a 90 Hz display. I will talk about that later when I'm talking about the battery. I'll talk more about that. As you'd expect, the battery does get used up more when you've got that high refresh rate. It's got a vapor cooling system. I'll put that under marketing speak. So if you go down here, you can see I've got the 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage version. There is a 12 and 256 version, as you can see there. 6.44 inch display, Gorilla Glass 5, 65 watt super dark charge. So I'll quickly show you the charge in a second. But the one thing to know about this is the charging is one of the best selling points of this phone. It is absolutely fantastic, but it doesn't have wireless charging. Now, I'm not a big user of wireless charging. I've not got used to using it because every time I've got a phone that's got wireless charging, I gravitate towards a cable because the cable charges quicker. But I know that some of you are interested in that, but bear in mind this does not have wireless charging. So the quad camera system there, you can see 64 megapixels for the wide angle, 8 megapixel ultra wide angle, 12 megapixel telecam camera, and then 2 megapixel black and white portrait camera. And then you've got the dual selfie, which is 32 wide angle and 8 megapixel ultra wide. So all of these specifications are on the website. I'll link to them. The last thing I just want to show you here is weight, and you can see I've highlighted it already. 205 grams, and then you've got the size there. So check all of these things out before you buy. See what it's got, see what it's not got. As always, it is up to you to do your own research and find out what features are there and what's important to you. Now, I'll do a quick test or two as well with the internet on to show you, just to show you like the speakers and stuff, and then I'll put it onto airplane mode so that we don't keep getting messages. As far as speakers go, you've got the speaker down here, you've got another speaker up here. The speaker down here is the main one, which you can tell because when you block it, it kind of blocks out most of the sound. Now, as far as the audio goes, I mean, I think the speakers on this phone are quite good. They're not going to replace Bluetooth speakers, of course not. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a phone, but you can see, and the one at the top doesn't really block out as much, but it is coming out there. I've did that test already. So speakers are good. I think they sound good. They're not tinny, but they're not going to replace a Bluetooth speaker. Usability goes, you know, this thing is fast. You know, I'm connected to my Wi-Fi right now, and I mean, just start clicking on random links here. I mean, look at how quick that is. It's a fast experience. That Snapdragon 865 just does its job, and there's no lag. There's nothing. This is a fast phone. There's absolutely no problems there as far as speed goes. So usability point of view, you know, going up and down, you know, navigating apps and things. And I'm actually using the 60 Hz display just now, I think, because I've got battery saver on, but there's absolutely no problems. If you're worried about performance, don't, because this is a very, very fast phone. Now, I just want to quickly show you the Super Dart Charge. I have did a test about this. Please do check that out. I'll link it down at the bottom. But this can do 65 watt charging. And if I plug this in, I've got like a little extender cable here. So I just double checked the connection there. It didn't seem to be connected correctly. If I connect it up now, I'm going to Ampere. I do actually have a USB safety tester thing that monitors wattage and all that, but I don't think this is designed for that kind of level of charging. You can see it's there, Quick Charge 2 compatible, and you know, this is delivering 65 watts, so I don't think the stats would be reliable there. So you can see the charge going up there, 3,370. It normally goes up to like 4,860 or something like that, nearly 5,000. One thing to note here, you can see the health is good, lithium ion battery, max capacity 4,200 milliamps, and that's two 2,100 milliamp batteries, which is how they can achieve that fast 65 watt charging. They can do it just simply because they're dividing the charge between two batteries, and that's how you can get, you know, like 0 to 100% in under 40 minutes. So I normally get, you know, obviously the charge now is up because I plugged it in. I was testing that extender. I actually charged it 10%. That's how fast it charges. But normally it slows down a little bit. When you get to the higher amounts, it starts to trickle charge. The charge comes down a little bit. But underneath 50%, you're probably talking about 4,850 milliamps, something along those lines. The charge is just insane. Check out my detailed charging video for more information about that. But yeah, no complaints about that. It's absolutely insane. It normally goes to about 4,600. So Accu battery, this is an application which I'm sure many of you are aware of. I have been using this. I'll take this out now. It gets warm. I'll say that about it. It gets warm when you're charging. This is a really good battery for testing how much usage you're actually getting from your phone, testing the health of your battery. You can see there that you should charge to 75%. The battery at 57% lasts for 23 hours, 5 hours with the screen on, 63 hours standby. And then you've got different things. It's got charging since 446. Okay, so the part I want to show you here is the battery capacity. So this has got a 4,200 milliamp battery, and I entered that as the design capacity. Now, initially when I started using Accu battery, it was saying that this had basically estimated capacity of like 2,100. Interestingly, you know, that made me think that was showing you half the battery, but interestingly, they're actually going above that now. So I think the app is struggling to figure out what's going on, because you've said the battery's 4,200 milliamps, but it's only detecting one battery, and then it realizes that it's charging above that. So it's kind of struggling to give you an accurate reading. My guess is that if I keep using this app for the next year, that figure will keep going up and up and up and up until it gets closer to the 4,200 figure. You can check the health of your battery there as well. Estimated capacity 2,080. As I said, it thinks there's only one battery there, which is why that figure's off. This is the main part of the app, and this is the reason I installed this. One of the things I wanted to do in this video is really show you the battery health, and it is a really difficult thing to do. I mean, I've talked about this in a video the other week where it's very hard to talk about the battery life of a phone and talk about how long it lasts. So I've been using this app to test it, and you can see here average battery use, full battery time estimate. So it's saying here with a 100% fully charged battery, I will get 9 hours 56 minutes, screen off 112 hours, combined use 41 hours. Now 41 hours I would say for my usage is very ambitious. I am getting a full day of use as a power user, you know, watching videos, listening to podcasts, browsing the web and different things. I am getting about a full day of use. So the battery is not terrible, but I wouldn't say it's amazing either. One of the things that I had a concern about was that it was discharging too quickly at first. Now, I came from this phone, which had a very aggressive power saving app, to the point where the phone's performance actually got affected when you used the power saving app. which to me was a price worth paying because the battery life was so good, and it still is. The battery life didn't seem as good with this, but it's because the power saving app just isn't as effective. Now, what I'll do is I will turn on airplane mode just now, and I can clear all the notifications, get things out of the way. Okay. So I'll explain what I'm talking about. In the battery area here, you've got power saving mode, and I've got it activated just now. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong part. It's there. I've got it activated, and you can see that it reduces screen brightness. It sets the auto screen off to 15 seconds, disables background sync, etc. I was using this mode to preserve battery life, right? But what I didn't know was there's an app down here, app quick freeze. So what I did was I went into all of these applications and I stopped them from being able to get used in the background when I'm not using the application. And this is an area where probably Apple's better in this regard. Apple's iOS platform is better because Android, there's a lot of apps in the background that just start using up CPU, using up memory, using up resources when you don't need them. Now, this I need a clear out. I'll say this right away. If you look at the number of apps that I've installed, I need a clear out. I am an app junkie. I just install apps if it makes my life easier, and then I forget to install them, even if I've not used them for months. So this is something that I need to address. But I will say that app quick freeze does seem to have improved battery life just by simply stopping those apps from loading. There's probably an Android battery saver app that does this better, but this has been okay. The only thing is you need to go through all of them manually. Now, what I'm going to do is turn off the power saving mode. There is also an intelligent power saver, which they say is recommended over the power saving mode. But the reason that this is worth noting is that there's a few different modes here. You can see here, smart performance is what it defaults to. You've got no performance. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay, so you should be able to see that a little bit better. I turned the brightness down there because it was too bright. You couldn't see the text. So there's a few different options there. High performance mode, smart performance mode, no performance improvement. And I've just been using this middle one. But you can use high performance mode if you want. It says it uses up more power. Now, I kind of briefly touched upon this earlier, that one of the best things about this phone is the display. It's got a super AMOLED display. It's 90 Hertz, and displays can be quite difficult to show in a YouTube video as far as how gorgeous it is or how good it looks and all that. And a lot of that comes down to the lighting and the way that you filmed it. But I will say this looks great. Now, right now, I will only have it at 60 Hertz. That's what I've probably got it set at. And the reason I know that is because power saver was on. And this is kind of the thing I've got about these high refresh phones. So if I go here, so you go into display and brightness, you go to screen refresh rate, and you can see it's got auto select. So this will select the most appropriate refresh rate. Now you can default to 90 and you can default to 60. Now, I will say when you've got it 90 Hertz and when you've got the brightness up a little bit, the screen just pops out. It's just gorgeous, and it's maybe not the best for showing you in the video as far as being too bright, but it just pops out. It just looks stunning. It's just a gorgeous display, and you do notice it when the 90 Hertz is on. And obviously if you're playing games and things like that, you want to be using the 90 Hertz as well. That's what you're paying for. But the thing is, should you be using it? Because the higher refresh rate will use up your battery, and I think it's pretty telling that as soon as you click on power saving mode, which I found is one of the best ways to save battery, because you've still got performance, but it's kind of, dimming the brightness and things like that. But as soon as you turn that on, the refresh rate will go down to 60 Hertz. It just changes it for you. It just changes it to 60 Hertz. So the point I'm making here is the screen is gorgeous. You will love the display on this. It looks great. The higher refresh rate, I don't know, you kind of get used to the screen looking so great that maybe you don't notice it as much. But in certain applications, gaming especially, you do notice that higher refresh rate, and it just seems smoother when you're using the higher refresh rate as well. But if you're going to be using 90 Hertz or even the auto select option, you have to be aware that you will use up more battery. That's the price you have to pay for that higher refresh rate. And it's up to you what you do. You know, it really is up to you whether that sacrifice is good enough for you or not. Your phone, your decision. So this is the settings area. I mean, it's quite a light Android skin. I don't think it's too bloated. It's not like a Samsung phone or anything like that add all these health apps that you don't need. You can change the quick tabs there as well. It just basically placed all my apps there. I normally use Microsoft Launcher, but I've been trying to force myself to use their skin. And it's very easy to search for apps and all that. The only thing I would say about this default layout is, one thing I've found annoying is that it doesn't display the latest apps at the top. You know, like my Huawei P30, when you were using it, you install a new app and it would put it at the top so you could see what your latest ones were installed. There's nothing like that here. Not a deal breaker, but yeah, it just shows you the apps you've been using recently and then shows you all the apps. Very quick to use though. But the settings area, there's a couple of cool features there. You've got your hotspots and different things, the fingerprint, smart services, smart driving assistant there. Convenience tools, there's a lot of things that I've not really used here. Yeah, so you can hold the power button to wake up Google Assistant. I don't really use voice assistants if I'm honest. Digital well-being control, I think that's for usage. Yeah, parental controls. Language and region, software update. You've got this game space. Did I see that somewhere? There we go, game space. So game space is something you can put your games in there. It helps you manage it better. Not something I've used, if I'm honest. Sorry, I'm off the screen there. And then you've got the app cloner. So the app cloner is like a thing that you can use for messaging. I think you can use it to use the original app. It says here you can use the original app independent of the home screen. What's this? When an app, I'll just read this out. When an app is cloning turned on, an app clone that runs independently of the original app will be added to the home screen. App cloner will not work on third-party launchers. This seems to be for messaging apps. I've not used it. Some of the other phones I've owned in the past have had this kind of multi-account option. It's, yeah, not something I've used. Split screen is there as well. Swipe up with 3 fingers. You do it like that. The way that I've been doing it is just kind of the way that I've been doing it before as well, where you just hold that and then do it like that. That's the way that I've been doing it. It says that you can do it with 3 fingers and different things. But yeah, slide down with 3 fingers to take a screenshot. So there's gestures and that there as well, if you want. Overall, I would say that the user experience here is fantastic. I really do think it is. It's a fast phone. The screen pops out. It's a nice design. Overall, it's a very pleasant user experience. I don't think anyone is going to have any complaints about using this phone. But the one thing I do have a complaint about is the camera app. So this is something that I spoke about in my video yesterday. I spoke about this in the camera video that I did. I did a lot of video tests and I went out with this camera app. Now, one of the things I did say in that video, if I reverse it, you'll be able to see, there you go. Hey. One of the things I did say about this video is that this app is great to use. It's very user-friendly. They've not done anything spectacular here. It's very similar to other Android camera apps that I've used. But if I'll switch this around, maybe you'll get to see this better. So I'll bring the camera up a little bit. You can see this. So what options have we got here? Well, we've got a night mode. That did seem to really improve photographs at night. It's just for photography. It's not for videos. And you can switch to the different lens. So this is how you switch to the different lens. You can change the ultra wide lens and then you can go all the way up to 20 times. Now, if you're outside, obviously 20 times becomes more relevant, but I did find that after a certain point, like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, that kind of point, most videos and photographs, they get quite grainy. So kind of becomes unusable and impractical. But the option is there. The option is there. When you use the selfie camera, you have to choose one of these options. You choose the 32 megapixel wide angle or you choose the 8 megapixel ultra wide angle. So you just have to choose which sensor you use. And that's the thing about this dual selfie. It's not like they're using both cameras in conjunction to help each other. You choose one sensor or you choose the other. It's just like having 2 selfies. But there's a lot of different options here. Video, that's the ultra steady mode. There's ultra steady max, steady even more, but that was terrible at night. You've got the bokeh effect as well, which, can I show you this? So you can put the bokeh effect down to 0 up to 100%, and this will put me in focus and make everything else blurred out. That's quite a handy feature. You know, like if I'm posting a review or posting pictures online, I could, you know, it's really good for me to take pictures for social media, etc. I can blur out the background. So that's a really nice feature. There's also a lot of effects and different things, filters here. There's 10 different filters. And these can all be applied to video, photographs as well. In the settings area, there's a few different options. When you choose a selfie camera, you've got 1080p at 30 frames per second. You can choose between 264 or 265, the codec for video. If you choose 265, you might have problems sending the videos on WhatsApp, etc. 264, the video files are larger but more compatible. So here you've got a few different options. You've got 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 4K, 720p. But you can see that when you choose 4K or 60 frames per second, it says that the ultra-wide lens is not supported. So if you choose 1080p, 60 frames per second, or 4K at 30 or 60, you cannot use the ultra-wide lens. I don't think that's going to be a problem for anyone who does want to record at those resolutions, but it is something to take into consideration. When you switch the camera around, your options are a little bit more limited. The one option there I would say is, I would probably flip that, because I forgot to do that the other video, and one of the videos, and my t-shirt was all back to front, etc. So I would select the flip selfie option. So there's the options for selfie. I think most people go for 1080p. You know, there's not many options there, to be honest. Most of the options are for photographs. And you see you've got HDR there, you've got the flash, you've got filters again, there's a timer. What was that one again? That's the frame, if you want to change the aspect ratio. And there's some cool things there as well. Touch to take photo, use gesture to take photo. I mean, all of this is kind of par for the course, you know, with an Android camera app. It's a portrait mode. And then this is where you will get slow-mo, panorama, time-lapse. So there's a few different features there as well. There's a few ones missing there actually, because I think I need to... There we go, there's some more options there as well. It's because I was in the selfie camera. I'll just point that out again. When you're using the selfie camera, I was wondering why it wasn't showing those options. When you're using the selfie camera, your options are limited to slow-mo, panorama, time-lapse. But obviously with the main camera, you've got more options there. You've got time-lapse, you've got text scanner, you've got ultra macro, slow-mo, expert, and panorama. So there's two kind of expert options here. Well, one really. This is the main one if you want to be a photographer and you want to shoot in RAW. If you want to, you know, there's lots of different options here. I've not went through every single one of them, if I'm honest. I'm more of an auto guy. But if you want more control over what you're doing with the camera app, that's what you'll use. You can see this one here as well, 64 megapixel. If you want the larger resolution, if you want the highest file sizes, the best quality, that's what you'll use. And yeah, you've got different options there as well. Watermark. So, to go back to what I was saying before, this app is extremely usable. I think it's very user-friendly. I think it's very easy to use. The problem is that there's a lot of bugs in it. What I found when I was taking videos is that when I was recording videos, it was shaving off a few seconds from the clip. So if I'm recording for 30 seconds, when I actually go to look at the clip on, on my phone or on my computer, it was stopping the video at 17 seconds. So I noticed there was a lot of clips where I pressed the stop recording button a few seconds after I stopped talking, and then it cut off a few seconds of me talking. So that was a pain for me when I was putting together that camera video, because there was a few clips I just couldn't use. There was a few others I had to kind of clip together. I'm not sure why that's there. The other thing about video as well is I found that a lot of these different video options, they're recording at slightly different frame rates, which does happen when you're recording with the phone. You know, they're all kind of bouncing around the 30 frame mark. The HDR option, and I talked about this the other day, you put in ultra steady. What it doesn't tell you here is when you select Ultra Steady Max, it actually changes it from 30 frames per second to 60 frames, and it doesn't tell you that it's doing that. So that's another annoyance. The frame rates, I could still sync them together, but when I was doing the bokeh shots, the audio was out of sync. I had to fix that. So there's a few little things like that. The video will stop recording after a few seconds. That's something they have to fix. It's a real pain that they do that. But the biggest annoyance that I had from a video perspective is the fact that the screen shuts down. So you can see that the display is on, and in fact, hold on a second. I will put the brightness up just to illustrate this a little bit better. So the brightness is up full. Look how much the colors are popping out, etc. And this is me going to record something. Now the problem is, when you get to the 15-second mark, when you're doing any kind of video using this camera app, you get to 15 seconds and it starts fading. The colors start fading and it just goes dark to like 20 seconds, and then you can't see what you're recording. So watch this. It's darker, darker, darker. And then that's what you're recording at. Now, I'm inside. I've got lots of bright lights around here in the studio. That doesn't seem like a big problem. When I was out yesterday, it was the difference between seeing what I was recording and not seeing what I was recording. So when I was in the car, when I started recording in the car, I could not see what I was recording in the clip. When I was outside, after 15 seconds, 20 seconds, I could not see what I was recording. Now, interestingly, if you use something like Open Camera, if I get that, now you can see that this video, turn it around. So I'm going to do the same thing here, and this will demonstrate that this is not a problem with the phone. And that's the one thing that I wasn't sure about at first. I thought this was a problem with the phone. I thought I had something, something set up incorrectly in the phone settings area, like the display to switch off after 15 seconds. So I set it to 30 minutes. But you can see nothing's happening there. The Open Camera app is recording everything like it should. Nothing is fading. And again, like I said, that sounds like a minor point, but when I was out, after 15 seconds, I could not see what was happening. Now, I don't know why did I push that? I don't know why that stopped there. I recorded a 15-minute video with this app yesterday, so I don't think that's a problem. Why is it doing that? Right, that's going crazy. But yeah, I'm not getting the problem with any other camera app. It just seems to be the default camera app. So to summarize, the default camera app is good. Very user-friendly. There's a lot of cool options there. Night mode, bokeh mode, portrait mode, 64 megapixels. You've got the pro mode, panorama, slow motion. You've got everything that you would need, everything you would expect for a camera app. But there's a lot of bugs. It's cutting recordings. It's fading the background to the point where you don't know what you're recording. And there's just a few things there that are quirky. I'm hoping that they fix them all in a future update. That's my hope, because it's not, I don't think it's a limitation of the phone. The hardware, I think, is sound. This is an issue with the camera app. So yes, that's something that you have to take into account when you're buying this, and hopefully they do update that. So what I'd like to do at this point is talk about performance. So I've touched upon this earlier on. I showed you how quick it was, browsing the web and things like that. I showed you how quick it was, just navigating the phone. Everything's quick, everything's smooth, and it does feel a little bit smoother if you go to 90 Hertz. But I have went through and did some benchmarks. Now, this will not be as relevant to everyone. Oh, I need to go online. So I did another test there, but I actually found that my previous results are there. What you have to do is select all benchmarks, your model, and you can see the ones that you've performed highlighted in yellow. Now, the one that I just performed there 6 minutes ago, you can see the read speed is 1296.5 megabytes per second, so 1.3 gigabytes per second. The write speed of 251. You can see the other test that I performed 3 days ago. Those results were not as impressive. 1028, still really impressive, but not as fast. Write speed of 163. The other one was 1127. Write speed of 233. So I'm not sure if the write speeds there were affected by, perhaps I was in power saver mode or something like that. That could be one of the things that I didn't take into consideration with those tests. But I would say that overall, those speed tests are very impressive, especially when you start looking at the speeds of other phones. If I find a phone that's not a mid-range phone, like there's a Xiaomi Mi 8, which is still a really fast phone, and you can see there that it's got a read speed of 420 and a write speed of 52. So in comparison to all these other phones in the market, the SSD in this performs very, very well. So yes, that's one of the reasons why performance is so good. The read and write speeds of the SSD is, yes, it's great. UFS 3.0. So I've also got Geekbench 5 here. It's got two different benchmarks here, CPU and compute. CPU benchmark measures the performance of CPUs at performing everyday tasks, and compute measures the performance of GPUs at performing common compute tasks, e.g. image processing. So what I did with this one, actually, I did go and I changed it, and what I did was I did one test with the performance mode on, with the highest setting, and then I did one test again with the power saver on. Now, what really surprised me is this first test here, the CPU score, multi-core 3084, single-core 901. That was with the performance mode. For whatever reason, I was getting a better score with power saver mode on. I can't work that out, but that's how it worked out. I got a higher multi-core score, higher single-core score when I had power saver mode on. And again, the first test here, 3058 with the high performance mode, and it was higher with the power saver mode. I'm not sure if anyone else here can understand why that's happening, but with power saver mode, I was getting a better score in Geekbench 5. So yeah, that is pretty impressive. Now, if you actually go into one of these scores, it gives you a good analysis and it breaks down what this means. So you can see here, there's like different tests that they've performed single core performance, and it gives you like the images per second and things like that. Now, if you look at single core and multi-core, you go into your test, it will tell you how your device compares. So I've got 903 for my device. The Galaxy S10 Plus is 759, OnePlus 7T 759, OnePlus 7 Pro 729. This puts into perspective how fast the Snapdragon 865 is. Multi-core, it's just killing the flagship phones from last year, 2,688 for the OnePlus 7T, and that's a fantastic phone. The Mi 9, yeah, it's just smashing other phones out the park there. The compute one, I'll show you the power saver option, 3,127, and you can see S10 Plus, well, that's actually higher for the multi-core. It's lower than the S8 as well, so that's quite interesting that the GPU performance there, the compute score, is not as high as phones from a few years ago, because like the S8 is quite a few years old now, and this has got a lower score. So all of these things, I like to show benchmarks wherever I can, but I think it is important to put them onto perspective as well. The reading and writing speeds, the benchmarks, all of these things, it's really just to help paint a picture as to how a phone performs, but day-to-day use, I don't know, you have to have a think about how relevant these things are. So this is the 3D Mark scores, and you've got Slingshot Extreme, and it's got your score versus other devices. It's right at the top. Your score versus popular devices. It's smashing the P30, it's smashing the Pixel 4. It's a little bit better than the Mi 9. So there's a lot of different things there. You can see my score is up there, and other people have tested their scores there. So you can see, for example, this is the Huawei P30, and people have tested their 3D Mark score around there. And this phone, it's went into landscape, and this phone is testing at 7,000. So this puts into perspective how good that score is. I don't profess to be an expert on what all of these reports show. I mean, these are all graphical tests. It goes through all these kind of graphical situations, playing games essentially, to work out your score. And it does show that my phone, this phone, the X50 Pro, is better than about 99% of phones out there. But really what you're trying to see here is how it compares to other flagship phones. But the scores are very good. You can see there, API overhead. And Slingshot. Yeah. So I performed a lot of tests, and I did those same tests again with the power saver mode, etc. So the first tests are with the full power on, full performance mode. But even look at Slingshot, 8870, 8872 with the power saver mode. Can't work that one out. The point is, I don't want to weigh this video down with benchmarks. Certainly when I always use these benchmarks as a guide more than anything else. But the performance results here, the benchmarks are quite impressive. There's no doubt about it. And that's why this makes it a very good gaming machine. So I've got a few different gaming options here. So what I'd like to do just now is load up a few of these games and just show you what the performance is like. So this is a nice little shooter game. I've got it set high performance mode. I've got the display set at 90 Hz. Now that won't really come across in this video, but it just makes everything a little bit more responsive. It just makes everything a little bit more fluid. I am playing this over the camera, which is why it's so difficult. Now, it is worth noting, this is not a game that requires a flagship phone. This would look just as good, at least from a gameplay point of view, it would play just as good on mid-range phones, but it just pops out with this display. It just looks excellent. And, you know, 90 Hz is something that you're not even going to get with modern consoles even, you know, not until later this year anyway. And yeah, it just looks good. I mean, this really does demonstrate how great this display looks. You look at the colours, it's just responsive. Looks fantastic. What I'd like to do now is put on Call of Duty. So here I have Call of Duty Mobile. And I've only played this once, if I'm honest. I've downloaded it and I've tested it out and all that, but this is not a game I play a lot, so I don't expect me to do very well here. But I have noticed when I was testing this last week, I did notice that there was no lag at all. There was no problems with it. Like that. Let me see, give me that loadout. Yes, that'll do. Okay, let's see how I got on here. Really what I'm trying to show you here, in addition to the colours and things like that, is just gameplay. See if there's any lag, see how fast it is. And this is the kind of game that really does show you how far mobile phones have came as far as performance goes. There we go. Oh! Yeah, it really does show how far we've came. Now, I'm recording this video at 30 frames per second, but I'm getting the benefit of 90 Hz here. So you're going to be able to push to higher frame rates. How do I reload again? I forgot how to reload. There we go. Yeah, I'm looking at an absolute gorgeous display here. I can see it at 90 Hz. I'm going to die. How am I not dead? I mean, I'm playing absolutely terribly. Yeah, looks good. Looks really good. I think if you're a gamer, any Android phone really that's got the Snapdragon 865 is going to be impressive. You're going to be impressed by it. But I think the Super AMOLED display and the 90 Hz refresh rate really just takes this to the next level as far as how good it looks and how much you enjoy the game, really. I can't seem to find anyone else. Okay, let's kill one more person, or try to kill one more person, and if I die, I die. Let's see if we can find someone. I'm at the other side of the map. I ran to the wrong side. Yeah, I mean, it's still... I'm still getting used to actually playing on the phone. There we go. These must be bots. They're terrible. Because I'm playing bad. Okay. On to the next game. Shoot that guy as well. So this is Asphalt 9. And I just had to go through a level where it shows you how to play the game, etc. Because it's the first time I've played this on this particular phone. Played it on other phones before. So, still showing me how to do things despite the fact I've been through one of the levels. So this looks great just with the 90 Hz display, the Super AMOLED display. But one thing that becomes maybe more apparent here is the speakers on the X50 Pro are really good. Now, I did say earlier, and I do believe that, these are not going to replace Bluetooth speakers. If you're listening to music around the house, you're still going to use Bluetooth speakers if you're listening to podcasts and things like that. But when you're gaming, this just, yeah, it sounds really good. It just sounds great. And because the speaker goes up here, you know, I've not been putting my finger over it or anything like that, you know, because a lot of time when you're playing games like this, generally the controls are down this part of the control. I was going to say controller, this part of the screen. You know, you saw that with Call of Duty, and you saw that here. You know, the two kind of thumbsticks, virtual thumbsticks, are around here. So you're not going to put your fingers over the speakers, which are there. So, yeah, it's a good setup. It's a good setup. So, overall, I would say that gaming performance on the X50 Pro, yeah, it's great. There's really nothing to complain here, and it's really not a surprise that gaming performance is good here. This has got 8GB of RAM. There is a 12GB version, obviously, and locked up there. There is a 12GB version, but 8GB of RAM. You've got that Snapdragon 865. You've got those fast read and write speeds, and yeah, it's just no surprise that this performs well. This is quite a basic game, really, for a phone like this. This is really geared towards the games that need more GPU power. But yeah, you can see gaming. If you want to play games on your phone a lot, if you know, when you're in the house, on the train, etc., I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed with this. It does get a little bit warm when you're playing, though. That is something to take into account. And obviously, if you are sitting playing Call of Duty for hours, that battery will drain very quickly, especially if you've got 90Hz on. You've got the high performance mode and all that on as well. So yeah, to be expected. But if you're sitting plugged in, if you're sitting there, the charging cable would maybe get in the way a little bit, but you'd get 3 or 4 hours at least, maybe longer than that, of solid gaming if you're playing with one of those, you know, a game like Call of Duty that requires a lot of GPU resources. You're going to get a lot of hours of gameplay. So this is a great phone for gaming. No other way to put it. I hope you've all enjoyed this look at the Realme X50 Pro. I will do a final review of the phone where I gather my thoughts about all the videos that I've done and just give you an overview of the overall package that you get here. Price, cameras, performance, everything. But in this video, I wanted to focus on usability, the user experience, showing you the Android skin, and show you speed, the performance of this phone. And from a design point of view, design is subjective. The green is not as flashy. The green version, anyway, is not as flashy as they make it out to be on the official website. But I think the design looks good. And I would always put functionality over design anyway. And the power button's in a good position. I'm not a big fan of fingerprint sensors, but it works well. The speakers are really good as well. And as I said, these aren't going to replace your Bluetooth speaker. But for a phone, these speakers are really good, with the main one going down there as well. You can't talk about this phone without its fast charging, and it continues to be one of the best selling points of this phone. But everything about this phone, from the charging to the display to the gaming performance, it's all about being fast. It's all about being fast. Whether you're charging, whether you're playing a game, you are going to get a fast experience. And a fast charging experience does change the way you use the phone, because you know you can get it charged very quickly. But from a usability point of view, you saw that earlier, you know, just using the phone, just browsing the web, watching videos, everything is smooth. There's no stuttering, there's no lag. It's just an enjoyable experience. And this is what you should get with a flagship Android phone. And it is available at a very good price as well. So overall, I would say that the Android skin is quite light. It's not my favorite skin. I would still probably use a launcher before I use this. There's just a few things that, you know, customization wise, that you just don't get that you get with some launchers. You do get a few options like widgets, but there's a few things like I just hate how if there's a widget down at the bottom, there's no way to search. You have to go all the way across. There's just a few things like that annoy me. But there are different things you can do here. Change the effects as far as when you scroll past the screens, change the wallpaper. There are a few different settings you can change with the home screen and all that, but yeah, this isn't going to stand up well against something like Nova Launcher or Microsoft Launcher or something like that. But on the whole, it's hard to complain. I think the actual user experience is great. I think there's no complaints there. Yes, they do need to improve the camera app. That's the one area that certainly standing out for me, but the user experience is fantastic. It's fast. It's a joy to use. I like the design. Overall, this is a good phone to use. There's no other way to put it. And I did talk about benchmarks. I didn't want to get bogged down too much with that, simply because I think when you're analysing CPU and GPU scores and you're talking about 9,000 versus 8,999 and things like that, you kind of get lost in the figures and you forget that with any kind of smartphone, it's all about the user experience and it's all about how you use the phone as well. Getting a higher CPU or higher GPU mark is kind of meaningless in the grand scale of things. It's all about usability. It's all about, you know, how fast the phone performs. This is a fast phone. It's an enjoyable phone to play with, to use, and the screen looks great. But if you do buy this, bear in mind that if you do turn on high performance mode, if you do use that 90Hz display instead of 60Hz, you will burn up your battery more than you would if you were using the power saver mode. That's true of all phones, but it is something to take into consideration because personally, I always put battery as one of the main priorities of any phone. And I know that if I want to enjoy the 90Hz display here, I am going to have have a reduced battery. There's no other way to put it. I will get reduced battery life when I use the 90Hz display. Is it worth the cost of that to get that beautiful 90Hz refresh rate? Well, that's up to you. Stay tuned for my final review, guys. It has been a long video, but hopefully those of you who are thinking about buying this phone will have a better understanding as to what this phone can do. Thanks for watching. As always, please do leave a comment below, and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Cheers, guys.